Atma Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Pitru Paksh Day 4. So, like we discussed yesterday, that we can help our ancestors by doing healings, by doing some good karmas, by doing some service and upgrading them to the next level or to the higher vibrations. Today, we would like to ask Lakshmi ma'am about what exactly is liberation or moksha that we call for. Ma'am, please.
Okay. At the onset, we'll just make a small invocation. We humbly invoke for the blessings of the Supreme God, the Divine Father, Divine Mother, my spiritual teacher and all spiritual teachers, all the great ones, all the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Paramatmas, the Tirthankaras, the prophets, archangels, holy angels, and spiritual helpers, and with the help and the blessings of our higher souls and divine self. Thank you for the purification, the strengthening, the empowerment, the upgradation, the alignment. Thank you in full faith. With deepest gratitude, reverence, respect, and love, we thank you. So, the question, I presume, is what is liberation? Right? So, now for understanding this simple answer, we will have to go back into evolution. So, human beings in the present form have evolved from the mineral kingdom. From the mineral kingdom, they have moved on into the plant kingdom. In the plant kingdom, there is visible growth, but there is no movement. So, from the state of the mineral, the plant is actually one step ahead. That is, it is a kind of liberation or moksha. From this state of the plant kingdom, you go one more step ahead, that is the animal kingdom. Now, this animal kingdom has animals walking on all fours, four limbs, and their spinal cords are not yet developed to the degree that the development will happen in the next one. So, liberation here is actually ability to move. Yes, ability to move. So the plant kingdom, the plants are restricted to one specific place. In the animal kingdom, these animals are now able to move from one place to another. Yes. And what is liberation from the animal kingdom? You see, the animals are actually not individualized souls, not yet individualized souls. Can we put it that way? The animals are not yet individualized souls. There is one soul, one oversoul, which is in charge of hundreds or sometimes thousands of animals. Not just one or two, but hundreds or thousands of animals are connected to one single oversoul. That is how the connection is established. So their chakras, that means in the animals, the chakras are very small buds. They are not yet functional. The prana shakti, in the case of animals, is absorbed through the life cord. The prana is only absorbed through the life cord. Even in the case of human beings, the life cord or the cord which connects you to the Paramatma or the divine is a source of spiritual energy, and the chakras have the ability to absorb prana from the environment. But in the case of animals, the chakras don't play a role of absorption of any kind of prana. Are you getting my point? There is no actual absorption of prana shakti through the chakras. The chakras are in the nascent form. They are still buds. They are not functional. All their control of the animals actually happens through the life cord, through the life cord. Now, there is one single life cord which is connected to many hundreds of dogs, or let's say one single life cord connecting to many hundreds of thousands of cats. So this one single life cord is from where the energy is absorbed. And very interestingly, whatever experience that one out of these 100 dogs who are connected to one Sutratma or one life cord, a new experience by one of these dogs will actually be reflected into the lifestyle of all of the other dogs, even without they having learned something new. Are you actually getting my point?
So, ma'am, they can actually learn from each other and become one together.
They are already one together. And whatever they learn is actually distributed to each other. That is the actual understanding. It's not that they are doing it by any intentional will. They're not conscious about the whole thing. It is just that it happens automatically. Repeat, it just happens automatically that they are already transmitting their learnings, their experiences, their new learnings to all of their counterparts. They are like one community, however far they are. And this has been experimented long time back. I'll come back with the dates of the experimentation in the tomorrow's session. It has been experimented like about 50 years back that this is a possibility in a group of apes which were physically separated. Yes, their localities were separated. But when a new habit was actually learned by one of these animals, it was reflected in all of the other animals. That is the level of development of an animal. Okay, so that is called as the animal kingdom. Now, in the animal kingdom, as we already said, the chakras are of nascent development. Very, very small, bird-sized chakras. Now, as we move into the human kingdom, what is the state of liberation for an animal? For an animal, the state of liberation would be the capacity to walk on just two limbs, to have a straight spinal cord, to be disconnected from the group and become an individual. That is the liberation for an animal as it individualizes. Yes, that is the process of individualization. Now, for the human, and in the human, as we all know, the chakras are functional. They are actually the point of absorption of the prana shakti from the environment, the divine energy coming through the Sutratma, as earlier, but in higher degrees. Yes. And what is the statement called as liberation for a human being? Now, see, the movement of a human being from the existing state to that of a superhuman state is exactly what is called as liberation. Movement from a human state to a superhuman state. The word superhuman has been given by many people, including Sri Aurobindo, who talks about this process of the earth liberation, from sufferings and solitude and pain, when a percentage of this earth will move into the superhuman kingdom. A better calculation or a better idea on how many people have to actually move into the superhuman state to be able to liberate the consciousness of earth from suffering and pain and struggle was later derived by many projects, many meditational projects, so to say, by various people, including the Maharishi, who was responsible for giving the Maharishi effect. Yes, so the transcendental meditation, his brainchild, the Maharishi Yoga, yes. So he had come to a conclusion through certain projects which were conducted under his guidance that about square root of 1% of a certain population, you can start with a city, a community, a country, or the earth. Yes, just it is required that square root of 1% of the population of the earth experience intense liberation from their pain, sufferings, and sorrow and solitude. If they make the efforts, like we have already talked about yesterday, energy healing and its methods is the New World Order. The New World Order talks about liberation from pain and struggle. So when we actually want to liberate ourselves from pain and struggle, we need to activate what is called our heart chakra and the true heart, which is at the center of the head, or the crown chakra. The activation of the heart and the true heart is liberation from the present situation, right? Now, if we talk about liberation for those, okay, now let me just finish the square root of 1% of the world population, which will liberate humanity from its present conditions and upgrade it into experiencing the superhuman kingdom, which will liberate humanity from its present condition and technically upgrade it to move into the superhuman condition. Okay, so that is activation of the heart and activation of the true heart, the crown chakra. Yes.
Just a question.
Yes.
What I understood up to now is that liberation is happening at every level. For liberation means you're just moving from one part to another part. That is what exactly.
Yes, liberation technically means, the word liberation or the moksha literally means that I am able to move to a greater degree of freedom, to a higher frequency. E is equal to mc square. That is mass vibrating at a certain frequency. Yes, C here denotes velocity. So energy is equal to mass vibrating at a certain velocity or a frequency. Now, the vibrational level or the frequency of the mineral kingdom is much lesser than the frequency of the plant kingdom. The plant kingdom frequency is lesser than the frequency of the animal kingdom. So there is liberation, there is movement, there is energy. Energy provides movement.
So, ma'am, are we also actually getting liberation day in and day out when we break our own patterns and pains?
Yes, yes. All those sufferings and pains that you chain yourself to, all those habits, attitudes, and patterns that you remain chained to, is stopping your own liberation. Nobody else is. Yes. All those attitudes, patterns, habits that we chain ourselves to are the important aspects to be broken, are what is important to be, the shackles are what we have to liberate ourselves from. You see, anyway, I just remember a small analogy. Sometimes, okay, the analogy is simple. An elephant, when it is small, when it is just born, it needs to be shackled, it needs to be chained. And the chain is quite a heavy stuff for an elephant, right? And the elephant grows huge, many tons. Then the chain actually does not become bigger. The people who control or use these elephants don't make the chains bigger. The chains are of the same size, but the elephant is so used, it is habituated. Yes, it has become a habit. It has become an element of fear. This chain, yes, this chain has become an element of fear. Are you getting my point? Now, this chain has to be broken. That is the whole point. Right? So when the elephant is all grown up, many hundreds of kilos, and it can just, with a shake of a leg, break the chain. Just by one stamp, it can crumble it into pieces. But it does not do that because it is habituated. That is exactly what is happening with us. And that is what exactly liberation is all about. Liberation is breaking your own shackles, your habits, your patterns, your thoughts to which you have got accustomed to. And is there something called as liberation after death? Let us just look into it. Let us see if it makes any sense. Now, see, at the point of death, okay, let's come back because death is the point of liberation that we are trying to understand. Now, death itself can be a great source of liberation because in the bardo, the twilight zone, when you are transiting from the physical form to the non-physical form, is the judgment, is the time of judgment, the time of bardo, the twilight zone. And at this particular point, if you realize that there have been some habits which have not been good, there have been some things which I should not have done, there have been some shackles, some mistakes that I did. And if I'm willing to just understand and ask for forgiveness, if I'm willing to have a little bit of resentment, not much, a little bit, and just understand that what I did was not so right. And I understand and I will not repeat these mistakes. When I could just create a new pattern for me in just those few seconds, that is the bardo. Actually, the word bardo can be utilized for your entering into the subconscious state. Every night there is a bardo. Every night you enter from the conscious into the subconscious state. There is a small twilight zone before you go off into deep sleep. And in this point, in this bardo of sleep, in this bardo of the day, yes, we can call it the bardo of the day, in this bardo of just going into deep slumber is your transition point into the subconscious. So this transition point into the subconscious state is where you can plant new ideas, new habits. You can unshackle yourself. You can break open your chains. Think about it. You have this small window, this small opening every night. Yes, and before you go into this deep slumber called sleep, which actually rejuvenates you, which regenerates you, which is actually like putting a mobile on charge. It is this deep slumber that we call as sleep. Yes? Am I being understood? Now, if you are just going into this point, into the subconscious state, and you decide just a moment before you enter into the subconscious state with a positive affirmation, and this affirmation can break many shackles, many habits that you have held, many feeling. A lot of times you just feel that I'm a victim. If you say to yourself at this twilight point or this transition point into sleep every day, that I'm a good person and I'm strong, I am loving and I am compassionate, and I strive to do all that is good for myself and others. A simple affirmation which makes sense to you. Yes, that is important. Many times we load ourselves with certain affirmations which makes no sense to us. We are constantly looking at words in Sanskrit or Hebrew or Jewish or any other language that makes really no sense. And we love those words and vibrations because sometimes what does not make sense does not have an impact in the way you respond. The way you respond is only for those languages, those phonetics, those actions that you are already aware of. So sometimes people just load themselves with affirmations, what they are not aware of. Okay, but the point is, unless it is a mantra like the Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So this mantra, having been chanted for aeons and aeons and aeons of time, has actually surrounded itself with a certain vibration. That the person who will chant it will actually start radiating like the sun, knowingly or unknowingly. Either certain affirmations or mantras have to be so powerful that they have been used for ages and ages, aeons and aeons, or there has to be something meaningful that you will allow to enter into your subconscious state at the time of sleep. And every new day will be a liberation from your old shackles. And this is the practice that we will have to take forward into that point called death. And this is the practice that we are going to do every day, that we will need to take forward to the point called death. Now, I'm actually explaining all of this because the point of death is super duper important. If you have a highly activated lower chakra, like the sex chakra, you enter into a world, after death, you enter into a frequency where there would be people who are filled with lust, greed, and selfishness. If you have practiced every night to transform your energy and raise it to such a position or state that you have an activated and loving, compassionate heart chakra opened up, where you have forgiven, where you have let go of all the unnecessary past, where you are ready to unshackle yourself, free yourself from the habits and patterns, then the next day you get up with a newer understanding. So it is the same with death. When I am willing to move into this new life, into this new world, into even the emotional world with a heart which is full of willingness to forgive, to share, to care, to give, then I am simply, it's like Zoom, I go into that world. Yes, I'm catapulted into that world. I'm just pushed into that world where people are all having this beautiful heart, a loving heart, a compassionate heart. Yes, liberation is actually an effortless thing. Liberation does not mean you search mountains. Like once the yogi, Paramahans Yogananda, said to his spiritual teacher, Yukteswar Giri, I'm going to the mountains to find liberation. Yes, I'm going to the mountains to experience expansion, illumination. So Yukteswar Giri simply looks at him and says, would the mountains be your master? Would they talk to you? Would they teach you? Of course not. It is a physical teacher who can impart ideas, information, help you through this transformational journey. And the liberation is greater possible if you find the kind of people that you connect to. People whom you connect to. It need not be a whole gang or a group of people. Yes, it can be just one person you connect to. Because even two people connected to with a frequency which matches, the frequency gets exponentially increased. Two people connect to each other with a frequency which matches. Yes, work becomes simpler, easier. Work becomes joy, enthusiasm, right? That is exactly what we see in this physical world. And that is exactly what you experience in the energy world. You need people to vibrate with. You need to find your tribe. You need to find your frequency tribe. Yes, the kind of people that you can actually vibe with. Okay, so that's about liberation. Now the consciousness. Yeah.
Sorry, coming back to the example that you gave about the elephant and like how we are also stuck into some patterns, could you share some tips with all of us in terms how can we actually understand the pattern and how can we work on ourselves, like you said, the night time? So what can we actually follow to vibrate with a higher frequency knowingly?
This particular method of very, very consciously imbibing certain vibrations through affirmations before you go into sleep will actually help you liberate yourself from non-real bondages. Yes, bondages which hold no value, As a small child, you require a certain discipline. You need to get up, you need to go to the school. Otherwise, you will end up like Mowgli of the Jungle Book, right? So obviously that is not bad, but that is of course not the exact way that you want to find yourself with the people around you. So in order to have some good self-esteem, there is some amount of discipline that has to be generated in you. And that discipline takes you along a path. And once you have reached a certain degree, and it is time for you to transform the ways that you have done earlier. Now, the most simplest way to do it is to associate with people like whom you want to become. Am I making myself clear? So we are a world wide web. We are on the Instagram, we are on the Facebook, we are on the social media. You choose what you want to see, you choose what you want to read, you choose what you want to hear, and what you read, what you see, what you hear is all that what you imbibe. And when you imbibe them carefully, your shackles or unnecessary bondages will dissolve. Because when you connect to those people who have dissolved their bondages, yes, their energy, knowingly or unknowingly, will actually enter into your system. जब हम उन लोगों के साथ जुड़ते हैं जिन्होंने अपने कोशिश से अपने जिंदगी में परिवर्तन लेके आए हैं, जो अपने जिंदगी में परिवर्तन लेके आए हैं, उनके साथ जुड़ने से हमारी जिंदगी में भी उनकी ऊर्जा ऐसे चमत्कारी रूप से काम करती है कि हमारे अंदर भी परिवर्तन लेके आने की इच्छा जाग उठती है. It is actually, tell me your friends and tell me who you are. I will tell you who you are. It is the kind of vibration that I am along with. That is the solution to most of our questions. Yes. So I need to put in positive affirmations, which I can understand, I can relate to. I can pick up certain mantras which have been used over ages and ages and ages by a large community of people, which has a similar kind of understanding, which will help me liberate certain bondages. I can connect to certain people, listen to, connect, hear, imbibe what they are trying to say, and slowly we become like them. Okay? So these are certain easy ways to unshackle ourselves. Okay? So we will just intend that we all receive divine guidance and divine help to experience the state of liberation. Liberation is freedom. Be aware of your heart. When the heart blooms, in the presence of a divine soul, your soul blooms. The Guru or the dispeller of darkness is he who is the gardener for the human souls. So at the feet of the master, at the feet of the spiritual teacher you connect to, at the feet of the divine consciousness in any way that you connect to, be there, absorb within you the consciousness of the divine. Om Namo Paramatma Guru Deva. I invoke for the blessings of the divine with the deeper understanding that I am not these bondages. I am not the restrictions that I have created for myself. I am not the pain, the struggle that I feel that the world has enveloped me into. I am not the anger, the hatred. I am not any of these thoughts and emotions. I am definitely not them. And I am supremely more powerful than them. But I need to understand and believe my ability that I, as a soul, have supremely more power than the thoughts, the emotions, and even the mind which holds me down. My thoughts and emotions are like the dark clouds which block the sun. The sun is simply millions of times more powerful, more bigger, or I would say trillions of times more bigger than a cloud which obstructs its light from reaching the earth. The sun is trillions of times more powerful. And you are the soul as powerful as the sun. And the thoughts and the emotions are so tiny, so small, are simply specks of dust. But I need to believe that I am a part of this almighty consciousness. I need to understand, I need to believe that I am part of this almighty consciousness. I am as splendid as the sun, as bright and splendid, as radiant and powerful as the sun. I am as bright, splendid, radiant, and powerful as the sun. I, the soul, am one with God, the infinite source of light. The infinite divine source of light has the capability to dissolve all the specks of fear and insecurity, all specks of anxiety and hatred. I, the soul, have this infinite capacity. Om Namo Surya Brahman. The energy of the Supreme Solar God be imbibed through the great ones, the Gurus, into my system and dissolve, break down all the specks of fear and insecurity and patterns and habits that have shackled my growth, that have restricted my freedom, that have restricted my ability to grow. Surya Brahman. May I channelize this divine love of the solar god, the Surya Parabrahman, into all those ancestors, all the forefathers, all of those people who have been instrumental for this physical birth of mine. You may mentally repeat for yourself. We channelize the energies of the solar god into the depths of darkness, into the depths, what we may call hell or narak, where people may be still suffering in revenge, may be unhappy, may be ruthless, may be brutal, may be violent, abusive. And a part of this hell exists in this humanity. A part of this hell exists in this humanity. May I be the sun to radiate love, compassion, which has the power to transform, which has the power to transform, to unshackle the whole of humanity and unshackle all those people who had been connected to us in this birth or previous births and raise them to higher frequencies. Om Namo Surya Brahman Om Namo Surya Brahman Om. May we constantly radiate like the sun. And as the sun, may we channelize the love and light, which will transform all specks of negativity in our own aura, in our own environment, and in all of those connected to us. This is liberation. Channelizing the energy of the divine, transforming your lower frequencies through the love of God into higher and higher, subtler and subtler frequencies of faith and hope, forgiveness and goodwill. This is the true transformation, the true liberation. So, thank you for today's discussion session and questions. And thank you all for being with us on this journey to experience each day the love of God to increasing degrees, the experience the presence of the divine within you and around you. For as in the story of Prahalad, when his father asks him, "Where is God?" So Prahalad simply says that God is there in the air, he's in the pillar, he's in the ground, he's in the roof. God is truly the all-pervasive energy. He is, or the experience or the energy of God is in all that you feel is good or bad, all that which looks beautiful or ugly. All that has the experience or the energy in God. Only the degree to which the energy of God is there in different things and different beings varies. But everybody has a small speck. They are like a part of this hologram. They are a part of this divine matrix. They are a speck, everybody, whether you see them as spiritual or brutal, they all have the speck of the divine. And it is possible that through our showering of love and compassion, that their speck of divinity within them can actually bloom to be a huge tree. For every person has the option to transform. Every story talks about it. Angulimal in the story of Gautam Buddha, yes, killed many hundreds of people. Valmiki, a highway robber. So everybody has the speck of divinity. It is up to us to actually increase or grow what is divine in everybody around us. And as the sun, we radiate to neutralize what is not growth, what is not freedom. So thank you all for being with us on this splendid discussion. We thank the Supreme Parabrahman, the Divine Father, Divine Mother, my spiritual teacher and all spiritual teachers, all the great ones, all the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Paramatmas, the Tirthankaras, the prophets, the archangels, the holy angels, and spiritual helpers. Thank you for the purification, the strengthening, the upgradation, the enlightenment. Thank you in full faith. With the deepest gratitude, deep reverence and respect, and lots of love, we thank you. So namaste to all of you. Thank you for being with us in this session.